I'm Iulian Bocai, and I'm a Romanian author. I am essentially a realist. The things that I write about are mostly social, psychological studies. So I've written 5 books, and my first one is Ciudată și înduioșătoarea viața a lui Passa Porta, and it's also the first one to be translated into Dutch by Charlotte van Roden with de Huis. Het vreemde en aangrijpende leven van Passa Porta. Charlotte taught me. She was always careful to teach me at least the title in Dutch. Well, it's my first book, and I really didn't know what I was doing when I wrote it. I just wanted to write one. And when you have no idea what to write about, the only thing you can write about is your own life, in a sense. It's mostly about things, places, and people I knew from my childhood. It's about a 13-year-old guy who falls into the water at the beginning of the book, and the story somehow suggests he's going to die drowning. He sort of has a flashback of the very few years of his life, and he goes through them chapter by chapter, and we get to sort of see him grow. I wasn't really interested in showing people, well, this is how it is to be poor. I don't really care about it, because I don't really think of that life as being a life of poverty. Obviously, it's a poor life, but I thought of it as the life. For a long time, it's the only life I knew. So it made no difference to me to say it's a poor life or a rich life, or I never wanted to turn it into an allegory of anything. It's just, those were the stories I wanted to tell. In that kind of region, with that kind of life, sometimes the only thing you have recourse to is just laughing about yourself. I mean, the humor doesn't really outweigh the tragedy, but it sort of gives it a twist. I'm not really sure if he is reaching for something that is genuinely unreachable in his position. Maybe he just cares about bugs, because his grasp of science is rather vague in the book. Yeah, doesn't really understand. And the few stories that he does hear from his teachers are false, which I've also made sure. Because the teacher doesn't know who Willem von Humboldt is. He confuses him with Alexander von Humboldt. He thinks that the naturalist is actually the linguist, but of course that's not the case. And Pritsa just goes along with that. And he doesn't care, obviously, because it's not like he's going to read Alexander von Humboldt's Cosmos or something. He just wants an elementary grasp of what's around him. I do not know why I instinctively refuse the psychological motivation. It's a decent enough motivation, obviously. He's a poor boy who has intellectual curiosity, and he's gonna use his intellectual curiosity as an anchor for an unsatisfactory life. I don't like it. I don't know why. So I have a training as a comparative literature student, and I mostly read widely. That is, if I discover a new culture, I would probably read something from it. I'm reading Hugo Claus right now, which actually is very similar to Pritsa in a sense, especially the first 200 pages with the kids making all sort of nasty jokes and the scatological commentary and all of that. I like people who are not afraid to be vulgar in a way, or to show you the full vulgarity of life. But I do also like very urban, very psychological, Proust-like writers. So I'm caught in between those two tensions. I'm going to be reading a fragment from my latest book, which is Revărsatul Zorilor. In English, this is The Break of Dawn, I think. And it's a short story collection about sex and relationships, really. De atunci n-am mai vorbit cu ea și nici n-am mai văzut-o. Asta se întâmpla acum vreo 20 de ani. Nimic din ce am simțit în noaptea aceea la Câmpia Turzii nu s-a dovedit adevărat până la urmă. M-am răzgândit în privința mea de 1000 de ori și de fiecare dată am suferit prostește, supunându-mă cu o voluptate de pornograf consecințelor fiecarei indecizii și urmărind cu o ludică și ușor indiferentă impertinență cum cele mai ferme hotărâri ale mele se îndoaie ca fierul înroșit și sfârâie, pentru că apoi să cedeze cu totul și să ardă incandescente în focul mognit al chestii astea pe care numai în literatură mai pot să o numesc viața. Până în seara asta nu cred să mă mai fi gândit la lucrurile acestea de foarte multă vreme. Mi-au adus aminte de ele doar fiindcă stătea Ruxandra pe canapea lângă mine și îmi citea acum câteva ore pe jumătate adormită un pasaj din Benito Cereno. Era un fragment frumos, ușor gotic, în care apăreau corăbii, pescăruși, valuri și expresia Revărsatul Zorilor. Îmi spunea că nu mai zice nimeni așa, că formula asta a dispărut cu totul și că îi pare rău. Cine mai zice azi că se revarsă zorii? Așa mi-a revenit în minte cerul frumos, prins între noapte și zi, din halta al cărui nume nu-l mai știu, în care pentru câteva ore fără timp, zorii păreau într-adevăr să se reverse în valuri mute de lumină și să ocupe întreg crugul pământului, licărind deasupra vieții mele ca un mar. That's it. So now I'm working on a thing called The Disappearance of Emily, which is a sort of written from the perspective of a Romanian journalist who finds out there's a case of a physically disappearing woman somewhere in Bucharest. And he sort of follows that lead and tries to get in contact with the people who know her. Can't find anybody, sort of goes on this wild goose chase. Ultimately finds her, but she is on the brink of disappearing completely. So it's a sort of somewhat absurdist, magical, realist novel. I want to show what happens to a psyche when it encounters a thing it cannot understand. And it discovers that it can actually be a path to happiness. Something like that. So you have in existentialist novels, you usually have characters that do not understand their lives and very unhappy about it and turn suicidal, or think that everything is now justified and that there is no moral substance to the universe, that the world is not ethically structured. And I want to bring a character to that point, but not have him undergo the same psychological transformations as the existentialist character. So I want to bring a character to the utmost absurd position of his life, and use that in order to make him see that it's a good thing. I'm not really sure if I can do that, so I'm just projecting here because I haven't written those scenes yet, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen when I do get there. I might change my strategy completely. That sometimes happens when you're writing long novels.